Hello, my name is Alec Eads, and I'm going to show you how to take apart and put back together a rotor on an F-attachment trombone. You might need to do this to clean it out, maybe you got some gunk in there. You might also need to double check your alignment on your rotor or anything like that. Whatever the case may be, this is how you're going to do it. So what you're going to need to start off with, a couple basic screwdrivers, plastic handles. This is going to be important later. Make sure you have at least one screwdriver that is able to fit this little screw right here. That one, because you're going to need to pull that out. That's very important. I have this little, it's a drill bit. Don't ever use a drill. But this is from a drill bit set that I use because it has lots of different attachments. You get a lot of variety there. You get pretty much any bit you'll ever need. Lastly, what you shouldn't use, don't ever use pliers on your trombone. Just don't do it. It's not going to end well. If it gets to that point, just take it to a repair shop. Don't. No, not worth it. So let's get into it. So to start out with, you're going to want to have your trombone like this, with the bell facing you, perpendicular to you. You want to be sure that you know how this works. So basically, when the trigger is not depressed, air goes straight through the bell. When the trigger is depressed, it routes air down this way and around and then out through the bell. So basically, now you're going to want to flip it over. And you're going to want to take your screwdriver that fits this screw right here. That screw right there. Go ahead and just unscrew it. This one's pretty loose. I've already done it once or twice on this horn. And you're going to take that screw, put it somewhere safe. I'm going to put it over here. And then you're just going to pull that little linkage off, just like that. Now be careful because this is spring-loaded, so if I let go of it, it just goes. So just be careful. You do not want that to happen, especially if you have like a nice wood grip on your trigger. So next thing you're going to want to do is flip the bell section over and unscrew this cap here. This again might be pretty tight. If you haven't done much maintenance to your horn ever, then it's going to be pretty tight on there, but you can pull it off. Don't use pliers. That's the biggest thing. Do not use pliers on your horn. So once you get that off, you're going to see this is the cap that holds the rotor in, as well as that screw. And this is the part of the actual rotor itself. So what you're going to want to do is, this is going to be pretty tight on most of your brass horns. This particular plastic horn is not tight at all. So I could literally just pull this up with my fingers. But you know, it's going to be a lot tighter. So what you're going to probably have to end up doing is flipping it back over. This is where the plastic screwdrivers come in. Holding this linkage back, you see that just plopped down on the desk. You're going to want to put your plastic handled screwdriver right there on this little guy right there. It's raised up. That's where your linkage goes on. And you're going to want to take it, and you might have to give it a little tap. You might have to give it a little tap to persuade it to come out. In this case, it's coming out very easily. In this case, it's coming out incredibly easily, so I'm just able to push it out. At a certain point, you should get to the point where you can just push that out. Alright, so as you can see, here is the rotor itself. Like I said, it channels air through the valve section different ways. And if you flip it back over, you can see the different tubes. So you got two down there, two up there. So at this point, you can snake all of these out, and you're good to go. So once you're ready to put it back in, I would recommend having some rotor oil, just basic rotor oil. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that rotor oil along here, along there, the big contact points, and then get some there, there, and there. It's going to hit many of your main points. Make sure there's no hair or anything on there. I'm just going to slip that guy back in there. Just like that. Let it fall in and make sure you push it all the way down so it's seated completely in the bottom of the valve. And then make sure it can spin pretty easily. If it can't, you're going to want to either push it down more or double check and make sure that you have everything seated correctly. It's not crooked, it's not anything. Since you got that all the way down and you're pressing and it's not going any further, you're going to want to take your cap. Like I said, this one has very loose tolerances, so it's very difficult. Or it's very easy to put in. But if yours is probably going to be much more difficult. So what you're going to want to do is take the bottom end of your plastic screwdriver, put it dead in the center of that valve cap, and just give it a little tap. Just a little tap, just to persuade it in there a little bit. And once it's all the way down, you can go ahead, screw this cover on. Careful not to cross thread that could be very bad. And then I would recommend putting rotor oil up in here while you still have access to it. So you're gonna want to see where there's likely gonna be little, let's see if I can get it here, little notches where your rotor's gonna fit right in, flat spots that match up. So you're gonna want to try and get those as close as possible, and then just mess with it a little bit, and it'll go right in there. Be gentle though. Make sure you're not forcing anything, because if you're forcing something, you're doing it wrong, and you need to step back, reevaluate your plan, and try again. Just like that. Once you got that back in, go ahead, throw your screw back in there, tighten it down a little bit, just a little bit, just enough to hold it on there. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull out your main tuning slide, set it down, and blow on the spot where your slide hooks up to your bell section, and make sure that it comes out of right here. Otherwise, you've got your valve misaligned, and you're going to need to take it back apart and realign it. So, there you go. It's all put back together. You can put your tuning slide back in there. And if you really feel so inclined, you can go ahead and grab some slide grease and throw it on there as well. So that's about it. That's going to do it. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I will try and get back to you. And have a great day, and keep playing.